and welcome to ProAm Cam. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world today. Today we have Patrice Tanaka. She is a woman of many talents, multifaceted, award-winning author of a book. She owns her company, she's a ballroom dancer, and she's also gotten certain awards. And she is an inspirational person, and today she's a feature of our ProAm Cam crew. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here, Renee and Marie.
And I'm so happy to have you here to interview on our ProAm profile.
Oh.
And of course, Patrice is actually not a stranger to me at all. So I guess I'll start off to let our general audience know a little bit about yourself, since mainly we're catering to a dancing audience.
Yes.
Before we delve into all the other interesting aspects of your life. Let's talk about your dance journey. First of all, let us know, when did you first start dancing?
I took my first ballroom dance lesson at age 50. And it's funny because I wanted to dance ballroom like Ginger Rogers ever since I was 8 years old and watched all of those old black and white films about Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire. In fact, it's what made me want to live in New York City because most of those films seem to have New York as a backdrop. And I thought, as an 8-year-old, if I could get myself to New York City, I too could be dancing at Swank's Manhattan supper clubs every night, dressed in a long flowy evening gown in the arms of Fred Astaire at the Stork Club. So that's why, since 8 years old, my drive has been to come to New York City. And, I totally forgot about, my dream to dance like Ginger Rogers until I turned 50, and at that point I went to see an executive coach because I was so depressed I could barely get out of bed. And this is because I was exhausted from building my first agency over the previous 12 years. And I was, also exhausted caring for a husband who had been valiantly battling a brain tumor for 16 years by that point. And I had a lot of obligations to professional and civic organizations, and it was 5 months after 9/11. And like most New Yorkers, I was still reeling from the shock and horror of that day. So I found myself talking to an executive coach, and she assured me that she could help me to feel better, but that first I needed to rethink my purpose in life. So as soon as I shared my life purpose with my coach, she says, "So what brings you joy?" And it was like, what? Nothing. That's the reason I chose this life purpose, because my life at that time was the opposite of joy, but I wanted my life going forward to be more joy filled. And so she says, okay, so name me one thing that has brought you joy in the past. So before I could even think, I blurted out, well, I love to dance. And I was like, where did that come from? And why is that the first thing out of my mouth? But in talking to my coach, I remembered that when I was 8 years old, my dream was to dance like Ginger Rogers. But in the intervening 42 years, I didn't take a dance lesson at all, right? So that became my homework. I had to book myself a dance lesson before the next coaching session in 2 weeks. And it started just 1 hour a week, the most awkward hour. When you first start learning, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to
You can't even walk in heels, nothing like this,
I'm going to step on his feet, I'm going to step on my feet, it was like horrible. But, but there was something thrilling about it because it was so foreign because you've never done it before.
Yeah.
And in other areas of your life, you can do things in your sleep, right? But not when you're learning something new, which is what makes it really exciting, right? And so I started showing up every week for my 1 hour a week lesson, and then I started feeling joy come kind of seeping back into my life and then flooding back into my life. Then I started taking more lessons.
I think it's interesting to note that this is the anniversary of 9/11 this week, and it's
yes, oh my God,
yes,
you're right.
So it's twofold. It's a very poignant memory for most of us, but at the same time, it's a time when you started your life again.
Yes, it's true. My whole life started because that coach, that executive coach, forced me to discover and articulate my life purpose. And then I decided to leave PR and marketing to start Joyful Planet, which is my consultancy now, and it's focused on helping individuals and organizations discover so they can actively live their purpose. Because I know from my own personal experience and through my business as well, if you actively live your purpose, you can unleash, more success, fulfillment, and joy than you've ever experienced in your life. And when I say live my life purpose, I'm talking about leveraging my greatest talents, my expertise, and my passion in service of other people and our planet. So it's not just about, taking ballroom dancing because I love it and it's just for me. In fact, right now I don't even compete. I spend most of my time and money supporting an organization called Dancing Classrooms, which, uses the vehicle of social dance, of ballroom dance, to unleash social and emotional learning in young children, in 4th and 5th graders and 7th and 8th graders. And we all know as ProAms, how transformative dance is.
Yeah.
But can you imagine for a young child, oh my God, it just unleashes so much social, emotional, and cognitive learning in that child. And that's why I'm kind of like an evangelist about ballroom, about dancing classrooms for children, because it is all about the children, right? Our next generation and what it is that we're going to leave them as a legacy. And I don't have children of my own, but many years ago I decided, okay, I don't have children of my own, so I'm going to spend the time and money that I would have spent raising my own children and supporting women and their children, because that's the way that I can give back. And so I'm happy that through the work that I've done through Dancing Classrooms and other nonprofits that I'm involved in, that I've helped thousands of other children, and that makes me feel.
So I'm going to jump into your career for a little
Yes.
bit. You've expanded a bit about Dancing Classrooms and what you've done. You've been a CEO, you've had 2 PR companies, you've had 2 awards. I think ballroom is something that we all love, and something that we all are grateful for. As you mentioned, it's been transformative in my life, in Marie's life, in Leonie's life behind the camera. But as in anything, there's also quality assurance and quality improvement. And if you, just from your experience in your business world, if someone wanted to make some changes, because we love ballroom, but there are also things that could be better.
Right.
And this is a little bit of a tricky question. It's a little controversial, so please feel free to not answer if you don't want to. But
I'm not competing, so I don't care.
But if someone wanted to make some real change, some effective change, what advice would you give?
Well, I've said this when I was competing, and I say this now. The only way that the ballroom industry is going to grow and become a bigger, major industry is if we can eliminate the politics and the conflict of interest in the ballroom industry. I mean, right? I'm sorry. I think that people know there's politics and there's conflict of interest. 2 things that major national sponsors do not want to put their name on if that's what our industry, the ballroom industry, is all about, okay? People, whether they're pros or pro-ams, should be winning on the merit of what they show on the dance floor, not for any other reason. And frankly, that's one of the reasons that I don't compete today. It's because it really, when I saw politics disadvantage my beloved, dance teacher, who exceptional dancer, it really left a bad taste in my mouth, which extended to me not wanting to dance pro-am. So I still take dance lessons with him because I love to dance, but I don't want to be complicit in supporting an industry that's rife with politics and conflict of interest. It does not do the ballroom world, any service, and it doesn't, and it really delegitimizes the industry. Sorry for being so,
I mean, you're speaking on real issues that are quite relevant today. And leading back into the dance world, so let's talk about your book. she had Becoming Ginger.
Yeah, Becoming Ginger Rogers, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so what was the motivation for writing this book, actually?
Yeah, well, I wasn't planning to write the book, except that if you remember, my purpose in life was to choose joy in my life every day, to be mindful of that joy, and to share that joy with others. One day, as I got really hooked on ballroom dancing and started competing and actually won a few championships, I remembered, oh, wait a second, I have that third piece where I have to share my joy with others. Mm-hmm. So how can I share the lessons that I've learned from ballroom dancing and all that I've gotten from ballroom with other people who don't even dance? Mm-hmm. That's why I decided to write the book, which became Becoming Ginger Rogers, How Ballroom Dancing Made Me a Happier Woman, a Better Partner, and a Smarter CEO, because I learned all of those things from ballroom dancing, and I wanted to share it with other people, because I was shocked that it did all those things. Because when people think about ballroom dancing, they don't think of it as, you can learn life lessons as well.
Explain a little bit, because a lot of ProAms also do have professional lives, and you certainly mentioned how ballroom dancing kind of made you a better CEO. Explain a little bit on that.
Sure.
For us. How did it make you become a better CEO?
Well, off the dance floor, I was the CEO of my own agency, right? And as a CEO, you're the leader, you're calling the shots. When you're on the dance floor as a female, you're the follower. And it was the hardest thing to learn to follow, because once I knew the routine, I wanted to lead my teacher, right? And we constantly have these fights.
I think we've all had that problem.
Yeah. Will you let me lead? In fact, one of my teachers said to me, the hardest people to teach are, women executives, because they're so used to leading off the dance floor, they can't give it up. Right, but you eventually learn that you cannot, as the female, be leading your male partner. And so I realized that being a strong follower was as important as being a strong leader. And of course, to have a winning team, you need to have both, right? They have to be equally strong. And so taking that lesson off the dance floor, I realized that if I wanted to grow our business, that maybe a better strategy would be to sell and to create a bigger mid-sized national agency by selling and not being the CEO. Ballroom dancing, you would never have understood that that a winning strategy could be you, not the CEO, but you being a strong follower of a CEO or our new CEO.
I certainly agree with that, because it's kind of interesting that you, say that, because Renee and I both, physicians obviously in different places, we spent pretty much most part of our day telling people what to do. We tell people, whether it's our office staff or hospital staff or even patients that come in, they don't know us from up the wazoo.
Right.
But this person is entrusting in you actually spending all your day telling people what to do.
You're the authority.
Correct.
And
then in the evening,
right,
now you flip, you're in the studio.
Right.
You have to take a step back.
Right.
Because now, and I think it's really, really important too, because, like a winning strategy, you know when to take a step back.
Right.
Now you are the follower.
Right.
You have to listen.
Right.
It's not always you that's going to be right. And sometimes even when you think you're clashing,
right,
to resolve within yourself, this person knows more than I do. That's his or her expertise.
Exactly.
And so, it's kind of interesting that you brought up this analogy, because I thought we always talk about it all the time.
No, actually, I'll give you a joke. So when I started, I was in upstate for a couple of years, and I now realized I was doing rhythm. My teacher at one point just said, you know what, close your eyes. Because he's like, I have to lead you. But it was very hard for me. Like, we are used to being in a leadership role, which we all have been in this room.
Right.
It's really difficult to kind of step back. And he finally said, close your eyes. He's like, you're not in control.
Right.
He's like, I'm going to blindfold you.
Right.
But it was quite useful. It was extremely helpful. And I'm still working at it. I assume I'm a better follower. I can ask my teacher on Tuesday.
Yeah, let's get a real scoop.
but it's a work in progress because you
Yeah.
are switching gears.
Yes.
In regards to your career, could you give us some information on the awards? You had a most creative PR agency and a
Yeah.
Women in Communications award.
Remember I said that the reason that I started my consultancy, Joyful Planet, to help individuals and organizations discover and actively live their purpose is because I think knowing and living your purpose is a competitive advantage, whether you're an individual or a business. And we need to communicate how, why people should hire us, why people should come and work with us. So I articulated what today would be called a business purpose, and that business purpose was PT and Company, which was the name of our agency. PT and Company is committed to creating great work, a great workplace, and great communities that work. Everybody, all of the employees of our agency knew what that purpose was, and we were focused and driven by our purpose. And that business purpose helped us to achieve within 8 years recognition as the #1 most creative PR agency in the whole country and the #2 best workplace among all PR agencies in the country. Now, I don't know if, objectively we were either of those things, but I know that, my colleagues and I firmly believe that, and that's how we built the agency. So,
Do you have a favorite Ginger Rogers move?
no.
I'm putting you on the spot now.
Yeah, it's all about Ginger. My favorite film of hers was Top Hat, because I love that feathered dress. And in fact, I have a feathered dress myself, which Christina Stakova designed for me, but she said it was Ginger Rogers 2012, I think, which is the year that I wore that dress. And I think I've only worn that dress once when I was the honoree at Dancing Classroom, the annual gala. In fact, that's how I got involved and now I'm on the board and have been happily so. I'm thrilled to be part of the organization. But I owe it all to Ginger.
So tell us a little bit about the program with Dancing Classroom. I know there's Mad Hot Ball, a big event that's usually in the spring.
Yes, we're very excited, and I hope you 3 ladies will come and support us. But it's our major annual fundraiser for the year for our program, which is a 10-week-long in-school residency, which a young boy or a young girl can start, the first class, they don't even want to touch each other, right? Right? But by the end of 10 weeks, this young boy knows how to ask a young girl, to please, may I have this dance, and to escort her to the floor in proper escort position and lead her in a proper foxtrot, waltz, merengue.
If she's willing to follow, because if we're the if it was me, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you bothering me?
But they all are. But what I love about this is that it really democratizes education, I think, for young people who participate in our program. Because a young boy who from an inner city school will have all the confidence to be able to go up to a young girl attending private school and ask her properly, may I have this dance?
Yeah, and the amazing thing that I do like is also, especially, as you say, Carrie Steinmetz, she's one of our fellow ProAms.
Right.
I mean, and of course you, even though you don't compete, to me, a ProAm is always a ProAm, okay? The concept of giving back, I really love that.
Yeah.
Because I always think it's always, when you have things,
Yes.
okay, don't forget. And maybe some of us may have even come from even more modest background, or maybe not. But when you have something and it's beautiful to you, I always think it's always great, for the sake of humanity. Don't forget your fellow man.
Exactly.
Especially if it's something that's not affordable to them.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of opportunity for us as ProAms to give back to the community in a lot of different ways. And
So we're going to segue into fun facts.
Uh-oh. All right.
okay.
So it's like the lightning round.
sprung up a surprise on me, yes.
Oh, okay.
So give us some fun facts about yourself.
All right, born and raised in Hawaii, and I'm an island girl. If you look at my
We're all island girls.
we're all
Here,
island.
here.
There's
Cheers.
something
Island
about
girls.
island girls, right? You can take the girl out of the island, but you can't take the island
Out of the girl.
Yeah, I owe it all to Ginger.
Alrighty.
So,
Cheers.
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 Thank you, Patrice, for speaking with us today.
And there
Thank
ends our
you.
segment. This was great. We've
Aw.
learned so much. As I said, multifaceted, multi-talented, Miss Tanaka.